Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, the Ugandan Parliament hosts the 126th IPU meeting. What other issues and how do you benefit from this assembly? The IPU is the Inter Parliamentary Union. It's a global group. On Saturday, the Inter Parliamentary Union meeting opens in Kampala under the theme, Parliament and the People, Bridging the Gap. Key issues to be debated include how Parliament can become more relevant to its people and its role in democratization, the famous Arab Spring and its implications on democracy and human rights, healthcare as a human rights issue, among other governance and development issues. The situation in Syria will also feature because some delegates want the issue to be discussed as a matter of emergency. The Speaker of Parliament, who is the convener, has called for peace and a sense of hospitality at the time that Uganda will be hosting the thousands of guests, asking in particular the activists for change to halt their activities. Although the activists say they will not hold demonstrations at IPU venues, the coordinator, Matthias Mpuga, who is also Masaka Municipality MP, says their programs will continue, stressing that they cannot trade their freedoms for the sake of a conference. FDC President Dr. Kizito, who is planning to meet a section of delegates, is insisting that the Ugandan political situation should be discussed at the summit. There are benefits expected from this meeting, but while international conferences are crucial for Uganda, many people still have bad memories of what transpired as the country hosted Jotham in 2007. So tonight we will get an update on what exactly is happening now, what will happen at the meeting, and the trickle-down effects of benefits that a local Ugandan is likely to get out of the delegates and the resolutions likely to come out. Our guests tonight, three of them: Hon Dr Lulume Bayiga, Buikwe South Mp, also Chairman of the Parliament, the IPU Media and Publicity Committee. We expect him to join us shortly. Hon Atiku, Ayivu County MP, also Ugandan delegate to the IPU. We're also waiting for him to show up. In the studio right now, we have Mr. Jotham Taremwa, Public Relations Officer of the Ugandan Parliament, also the Press Officer for the 126th IPU meeting. You're most welcome, Jotham.
Thank you.
Can you give us a background to this IPU?
Thank you, Mr. Kizito, and our dear listeners. IPU is Inter Parliamentary Union, the body that brings all the United Nations parliaments. It was founded in 1889 and it meets twice every year. Maybe what I should start with is that this is the first of its kind on an African continent. It has not been in any African country. It is only Uganda that has hosted it for the first time. Most of the times it has been hosted by these developed countries, especially Switzerland, and this opportunity came not because somebody wished it to come to Uganda, but it was a competition between Uganda and Canada. And the governing council of the IPU had to decide between the two countries, and there are benchmarks for that. And finally, Uganda emerged the winner of hosting this global conference. It is a 159-member assembly and 9 observer missions. It can be East African Legislative Assembly, African Parliamentary Union, and other association of parliaments in Latin America, in Asia, and so we are here in the advanced stages of opening this conference on Saturday.
And how did Uganda get to host it as the first African country to do so?
First of all, for a country to be a member of this association of parliaments, there are certain benchmarks. Some of them are democratic and others commitment to the membership, participation in the assembly. Those are benchmarks. Now after that, it is intensive lobbying. And our Right Honorable Speaker, Rebecca Kadaga, while she was a deputy, she put up a spirited lobby against Canada to host it. So it was intensive lobbying, networking, convincing, and finally she brought it to Uganda.
Right, the first country in Africa. Of course, we saw her dancing a jig at some stage while she promoted this, and that's a big plus. Of course, Uganda is not the most developed country on the African continent, so that's a big plus for her personally and the teams that she worked with. Let's talk about the size of this conference. We'll talk about the substance, but how many countries are represented in this particular? And you say there are 159 members. How many delegates are coming?
We expect over 2,000 delegates from those 159 countries.
All countries are being represented?
Yes, they are being represented. We have had arrivals as of now, about over 20 countries have already arrived.
Yes.
And tomorrow it is a busy day. Many more countries are coming. Yeah.
So, and when does it start?
We already have a meeting of the Executive Committee of the IPU, in which our Right Honorable Speaker is a member. It is taking place. It started today. It is sitting tomorrow. And tomorrow there are other meetings, committee meetings, but it will be officially launched with the inaugural address by His Excellency the President of Uganda on the 31st of March,
which is Saturday,
2012, which is the day after tomorrow, in Munyonyo.
Right.
Yeah, so it will officially begin on Saturday.
So the event is being hosted in Munyonyo.
The inaugural address, the official opening will be in Munyonyo, but immediately after Munyonyo, we will all come back, and the rest of the meetings will be in Serena and Imperial Royal.
What's the agenda? What are these 2,000 plus delegates going to be talking about?
Well, the agenda for this IPU conference, they start, of course, with the election of the president and the vice president every time they sit. And then there is that space for inclusion of requests of an emergency item. For example, let's say Somalia may want to present an item to the Assembly, which it wants the Assembly to deliberate on. And then Uganda brings another item. And then Pakistan brings an item, and Israel, something like that. And then the members look at the merits of those issues being presented. They debate them on their own merit, and they decide to include it on the agenda for discussion. Then, of course, there will be a general debate on the theme of parliaments and people, bridging the gap. There will be promoting and practicing good governance as a means of advancing peace and security by drawing lessons from the Middle East and North Africa. There will also be a discussion on the distribution of power, not just wealth, taking into consideration ownership of the international agendas, and then access to health as a basic right, and the role of parliaments in addressing key challenges to securing the health of women and children. If I leave this point, this is one of the items, an example of the inclusion of an emergency item which Uganda fronted in the previous sitting. And among other issues, Uganda managed to win this very item to be included in this sitting's agenda. And of course, then there will be a final rapporteuring and approval of the items for the next assembly. Yeah.
And what do we get out of it?
Well, that is a very good question, Mr. Kizito. As I have told you, this is a conference that will attract over 2,000 delegates. Now, these 2,000 delegates, Ugandan Parliament will cater for accommodation and other associated costs for not more than 130 people.
Yes.
The rest of the 2,000 plus, they are going to pay for their accommodation, pay for their feeding, and they will be shopping around.
Right.
Transport, we have official transport for our delegates from the airport to their hotels to the venue and vice versa. Now, if a delegation wants to
go to Bujagali, well, there's no Bujagali anymore.
To go to the source of the Nile, if a delegation wants to go shopping to Nakumat, if they want to go to the Equator, Machon Falls National Park, that is their own cost in terms of transportation. So that is money coming into the hotel industry, and these hotels buy food. They don't grow food.
Yes.
So Ugandans who have food will be selling extra. Secondly, this is a global conference. I am part of the media and publicity subcommittee. We have accredited journalists who are coming to cover this conference throughout the world, including our Ugandan journalists. All the cameras, the world cameras, will be focusing on Uganda for the next 7 days. It is an opportunity for this country to really expose itself in terms of its tourism potential, in terms of its cultural diversity, in terms of the beauty Uganda has. And by the way, some of the delegates have indicated that they are going to spend their Easter.
Oh, they want to stay longer than the conference.
Yes. The itineraries we have, most of the delegates are spending extra 5 days, extra 2 days. So those 2 days or 5 days, that is purely their private expense. You know? Right. So the people who have special hires will gain. People who run tours and travel will gain. The agriculturists will sell their produce more to the hotels, and more so, we have an exhibition place at the Chogam Gardens between the Parliament of Uganda and the Serena Conference Center. That place we have put there is free of charge. Our Ugandans, if you get there this time, it is tents. They have brought all kinds of their businesses to really sell. So the delegates will be shopping. So Ugandans should take this opportunity to really showcase what they have to offer to the world.
Well, listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. Inside of Parliament, the Ugandan Parliament hosts the 126th IPU meeting. What other issues and how do you benefit from this assembly? Well, it's been long in coming. There's been a lot of waiting for this, heavily lobbied for by the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. Finally, it's here. 2,000 delegates coming from 159 countries, the media from around the world, television cameras focusing on this country. Some will be staying beyond the conference, which ends on the 5th, starts on Saturday. Some will stay for their Easter holidays. Our guest tonight, Mr. Jotham Taremwa, Public Relations Officer of the Ugandan Parliament, also the press officer for the 126th IPU meeting. We expect 2 other guests from members of Parliament, Dr. Lulume Bayiga and Honorable Bernard Atiku. You two will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion. Mr. Taremwa, when was the last conference held?
The last conference was held in October of 2011. It was in Bern, Switzerland. This conference takes place twice a year.
Twice a year, you say?
So the next one is in Canada, which we did the other time.
Right.
And then the following one, I think, is in Ecuador.
Ecuador in South America.
Yeah.
And you say every time you meet, you have to elect a new chairman.
Yes.
They have a term of 6 months.
They have a term of 6 months.
That's a very short period. Why
the current president is from Morocco.
Yes.
And he was elected during the 125th sitting in Bern, Switzerland last year.
Yes. Yeah. And the whole office for only 6 months?
Yes.
The chairman and the vice chairman?
Yes.
After that you elect a new person?
Yes.
And what do they do specifically, those chairmen?
Well, they are the top guys of the association.
What is your secretariat for this organization?
It is in Geneva.
In Switzerland?
Yeah, Switzerland.
Okay, and how much is it costing us to cost as a country?
Well, it isn't so much. This is money that has been budgeted for the last 5 years.
We've waited for it for 5 years.
Yeah.
Go on.
And it is a few billions.
A few billion Uganda shillings.
A few billion Uganda shillings. Mainly, this is for transportation. This is for security, because our security threats here are not the same as those security threats in the developed countries. It is for a few dinners. We have one, by the way, which His Excellency will host for the speakers. And we have an excursion, and to cater for the accommodation of the secretariat staff.
Right.
So the rest of the money, the delegates will foot their bills.
So it's a small bill, no roads, no flowers, no new hotels?
Not really.
All right, Mr. Taremwa, talk to us about the theme, Parliament and the people bridging the gap. Why is this? What is it about?
Well, of course, parliamentarians represent the electorates. This assembly will give an opportunity to members of parliament from Uganda and others around the world to share their representative and legislative experiences, to see how to effectively represent the voices of your voters, to see if there are any gaps and share the experiences on how those gaps can be closed so that there is effective representation.
And how do they do it in practical terms? How do you want to do it?
Well, we are looking at the challenges of a parliamentarian versus the roles. The challenges, of course, we have here, they are not any different from the challenges other parliaments have.
Yes.
The perception the voters have on their members of parliament is not any different. When I went to Ban, when I went with a team that went to Ban, Switzerland, and I was talking to my colleagues from there, from the public relations and press, the challenges we face here, they are the same challenges. So when they come together, I think there will be an opportunity to learn from one another. If you are, say, a member of parliament from Cambodia, what challenges do you meet? How do you solve them? If you're a member of parliament from Brazil, how about you from Uganda? And then they will really learn from, when you meet, you get to learn something from one another.
Right.
Yeah.
So each parliament sends about 10 people?
About between 5 to 10, or even more. Even more. There are delegations which are more than 10.
Right.
Yeah. There are those which are 5, so in there.
Okay. And when it was formed in 1889, what exactly did they want to do?
Well, they wanted to make sure Parliament's place in the political and economic development of countries is recognized and well understood. Because there is Parliament, which is the legislature, there is the executive, there is the judiciary. So this is a body that wanted parliaments to come together and see how they can push for harmonized agendas in the development and tackling the challenges of their people in the globe. There are issues, for example, that the Parliament of Uganda maybe has been deliberating as a Ugandan Parliament. But when those issues now become a global issue, like this maternal health we talked about, it brings in a concerted effort and a global approach on how we can move in the same direction in fighting for maternal health. So basically it is to unite them together and push a common agenda for the good of their people.
All right, and we'll talk about a little bit more about some of the issues that you raised, like the human rights and so on. But at the moment, we have the group of A4C activists. They're trying to replicate what happened in some Arab countries, what they call the Arab Spring. Now, is this something that you're going to talk about?
Well, there is not necessarily A4C. The Right Honorable Speaker has had stakeholders meetings ever since we started organizing for this conference. He has tried to bring every stakeholder on board, from the media to the religious people to the politicians from different parties and other ambassadors. Everybody, she has tried to bring everybody on board. And the message has been, this is your conference as a country. Please appreciate it, own it, support it, and let's benefit from it as a country. So she has been making those appeals, even including A4C. The other time we were on a radio program, and they asked her about the same question, but she repeated the same message, and I don't want really to bring in my own, but I think that is the message that was sent out there. But during the conference, they will discuss some issues to do with democracy and human rights during this conference. So it is an opportunity for anybody who has an issue to make use of this conference
and bring it forward. All right, we'll talk about that as we come back from this commercial break. Do stay tuned to Radio 1.
Let the sunlight in.
Good morning, sunshine of my life. You look happy today.
I am. I came in here and I saw there was a whole pile of washing to do.
But I thought you didn't like doing the washing.
No, I love it. Anything else you need washed?
Sunlight 2-in-1 with added fabric softener smells so good you want to use it again and again.
Let the sunlight in.
Sunlight 2-in-1. Sunlight clean, sunlight fresh.
Sunlight in. Happiness is all around. Let the sunlight in.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Promotion. Kutoka MTN. Win 10 million shillings every day for 90 days. SMS win to 175.
Win, everybody. It is time to win lots of money. And all you have to do is Sukum SMS. Big up MTN for this promotion.
Chino.
Win 10 million shillings every day for 90 days. Simply SMS WIN to 175 to play and win. MTN Sukuma SMS.
Terms and conditions apply.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
Welcome back to Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, the Ugandan Parliament hosts the 126th IPU meeting. What are the issues and how do you benefit from this assembly? Our guest is Mr. Jotham Taremwa, Public Relations Officer of the Ugandan Parliament, also the Press Officer for the 126th IPU meeting. You two will be able to call in and contribute to this discussion or send text messages. What you do is type the word Spectrum, question, message or comment, and send it 7197. That is Spectrum, message, question or comment, send it 7197. It will be read out and you'll get an answer to it. Mr. Taremwa, you say you're going to talk about this Arab Spring and the A4C activities. What exactly would delegates be dealing with here?
I don't think that F4C activities are going, F4C activities are going to be talked about. What I think I said, if I may recollect, is that every sitting of the IPU, there is a space on the agenda for the debate of an inclusion of an emergency item. In this particular case of this sitting, there is a general feeling and a general agreement that the debate of an emergency item on the agenda to be included should be Syria.
Syria?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there is that desire to debate and have Syria included on the debate of an emergency item on this agenda to address its political violence and human rights abuses. So that is what I said.
Not Uganda?
Not Uganda as such. But of course, like I said, there are so many issues that will be discussed during this conference, bordering on peace and international security, democracy and human rights. And these are not local issues. This agenda is a culmination of issues of the world. So we can't localize it. So the agenda that is put forward is one that is general, that touches on Uganda, touches on the United States, touches on Syria, touches on every country that is on this globe. So this is an international agenda that will be debated.
Do you undertake peer reviews?
Well, there are committees which do that, which follow up on the decisions and resolutions made by the Assembly. For example, on the 5th of April, there will be a closing press conference, and in that closing press conference, we'll be able to know as people what were the issues and what are the resolutions that came out of those issues. And the moment those issues, if there are security issues, there is a committee that will be handling that. If there are human rights issues, there is a committee that will be following up on that. So periodically there is a review and reports are compiled on compliance and implementation.
And do you expel some members sometimes?
Well, for example, Haiti was expelled and Miami, they were expelled. Right now they reapplied to be brought back on board, and so their applications will be looked at in the next sitting and not in this sitting.
What have they done?
Well,
there was a coup in Haiti.
Yeah. It is all about the democratic credentials. There was a coup in Haiti, and I think the same. There were human rights issues and things like that in Miami. So basically, those issues that don't put you to the standard of the rest of the memberships of the IPU. So they assess you. It is not a free entry and exit. It has stringent requirements and benchmarks in order to join it, and you must conform to those standards. Short of that, the association will expel you out of its membership.
So this time we expect in Kampala that they'll expel Mali. There's been a coup there.
Well, I don't want to speculate because that is not.
Well, you have precedents.
Because that is let's wait and see.
You have precedents. There has been a coup in Mali. It's been.
I know there has been a coup
it's been denounced by the AU. It's been denounced by the UN.
There has been a coup in Mali, and I don't think Mali really qualifies to be
a member of the IPU.
To be a member of the IPU. Because of,
so you think it's going to be expelled?
But not at this conference. I can't be very sure on that, and I don't want.
There might not be time.
There may not be time. That's why I'm saying maybe, not because the IPU thinks it is okay to leave it in or what. No, I am saying time may not allow, but of course it is a matter of time if they keep the same road of.
You don't think they'll put together a committee specifically to study Mali?
I think they will. But
I mean, you couldn't just leave Kampala. The coup happened a couple of days ago.
You know what? I think our listeners should put that question. Tonight there is will be on NTV, the Secretary General and our Speaker, and I think they can really answer that question better rather, and they know the agenda and what they can quickly talk about or decide on. So I don't want to commit myself on that question of Mali because I am not sure of what will come out of the meeting about Mali.
And apart from when you expel, what's the mechanism for expulsion? Does it have to be a meeting like the summit, like the one that you have this time, or?
Of course, this association has benefits for member parliaments. Okay.
Yes.
So if you are not a member of this association, you forfeit all those benefits.
Like what?
Well,
attending conference.
There is nobody who studies to become a member of parliament.
Yes.
At least not anywhere that I know of, including Uganda.
Yes.
So, Inter Parliamentary Union assists and supports members of parliament in training on their legislative roles. Secondly, it is a United Nations body of parliaments. The moment they expel you as a member, then you are going to have trouble at the United Nations. They are going to put pressure on you. You must address yourself and get back on the right track. So if the global parliaments come together and say, you are not a member, you have abused your membership, you have brought shame to our membership, then surely, where else will you get a name? You have lost it all.
All right, so apart from expulsion, what other sanctions do you put in place for softer crimes, softer in courts?
No, of course, the There are reports presented, like say a Committee on Human Rights will go out and look at countries' compliance with some of the resolutions and implementation. And if countries are failing short of those, then there will be communications on their failures and they will be urged to really address those challenges. There is going to be a launch of the Global Parliamentary Report, the first of its kind.
Yes.
And in that Global Parliamentary Report, every parliament on the globe is assessed.
Yes.
In terms of its performance.
And you give a report.
And they give a report. That report will be launched. It will be launched on the 2nd of April. So you will be, you'll have particular, yeah? Yes, during this conference. This conference? Yeah, they will launch it. Yes. So you'll have an opportunity to look at your parliament, how it has performed in the last couple of years, and how it has failed, and where it needs to address itself.
And that's a candidate assessment.
Yeah, it is.
No diplomatic language so far.
No, not really.
So apart from parliament, assessing parliaments, do you also influence each other's politics? Does the IPU influence each other's politics?
IPU works for democracy, and the influence is in that democratic line. So you must conform to the democratic standards in order to keep being a member of the IPU. And if you don't do that, then IPU is going to put pressure on you to make sure you address yourself to conform to the democratic standards that fit a member of the IPU. So I might call it pressure. It is pressure, but it does not get involved in the affairs of other countries. No, it does not.
So many things you let them pass.
What do you mean?
Well, you say you don't interfere. They used to say that during Idi Amin's time, and he stayed 8 years in this place.
During Amin's time, I don't know how old I was, so I'm hearing it for... I know he was a serious dictator. I don't know what you mean, it lets other things pass. But I mean, IPU sets certain benchmarks, you conform to them. Failure to do that, there are reports made, and there are questions asked, and the parliaments have to really address them. So that is how it works. It is not a policing body.
It's not a policing body?
No, it is not a policing body.
All right, so let's talk about human rights a little bit more in detail. Healthcare, is it a human right? Do you regard it as a human right?
Well, the Ugandan delegation at the previous conference, not this one of BAN.
Yes.
There's a conference where, when this this conference of hosting IPU was accepted that Uganda hosts it, the Ugandan delegation put up a spirited fight that we must look at maternal health as a human right. So since then, maternal health is now a human right.
Yes.
Yeah. It is basically a human right.
So what are you going to talk about it?
Of course, funding for the health will be an issue.
Yes.
Not that I'm going to talk about it because I will not be in the plenary.
Go on.
But those are the issues that they are going to look at. They are going to look at the maternal health rates. Are they going down? The death of the mother, the children, the mortality rate, is it going down? If it is not going down and it is going up, what is the issue, and how can Parliament come in to address and support the government in addressing the health challenges, including HIV/AIDS? Yeah. So the global parliaments want to make sure the issue of maternal health, the issue of child nutrition, the issue of HIV/AIDS, they become issues of human rights. Yeah.
So you talk about the MDG goals, the Millennium Development Goals, how much money governments should spend to bring down the maternal and child health deaths?
Well, Parliament of Uganda, first of all, is committed to
the MDG.
To the MDGs.
Yes.
And all the members, Millennium Development Goals is not only for Parliament of Uganda. So whatever the members will be discussing is in line with the fulfillment of the MDG goals.
Right. So what are some of the activities that they'll be involved in? Take us through all these 7 days, the days, the 5 or 6 days. What exactly are they going to be doing? Day 1, day 2, and so on.
The way this IPU works is like the way parliaments work. You have plenary, you have plenary, and you have committees.
Yes.
So most of the meetings will be committee meetings, and afterwards,
yes, go on.
Plenary.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. For instance, on the first day.
On the first day, we are talking of 31st, which is the official opening.
Saturday.
And it is at 7:30 p.m. But before that, we will have a coordinating committee of women parliamentarians meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Then we have a committee on human rights of parliamentarians, because you know parliamentarians also face challenges of human rights. Meeting. We'll have a committee on Middle East questions.
Middle East questions, we talk about Syria, you already mentioned that.
Yeah.
What else in the Middle East?
Well, as far as I know, Syria is top on the agenda.
All right.
Then there will be, on Sunday, there will be the first standing committee on peace and international security meeting to consider security issues globally. Okay. Then, same day in the afternoon, there will be a general debate on the political, economic, and social situation in the world, with the overall theme of parliaments and people, bridging the gap.
Yes.
Okay. Then in the evening, there will be a third standing committee meeting on democracy and human rights. So basically those are the issues, not that you sit in a day and finish a certain issue.
All right, I'd like you to take us through all the other days. You've covered only a few, but some people might want to call in right now. Listeners,
no, the rest of the other days will be a continuation of the meetings that were held the previous day. Because, for example, on Monday,
yes,
which is the 2nd of April, there will be a debate on democracy and human rights.
Yes.
Which was debated the previous day. Yes. Then there will also be a debate, a meeting rather, on peace and international security. Perhaps something new that will come on Monday will be a committee meeting, which is the second standing committee, meeting on sustainable development, finance and trade. Then on Monday there will be the launch of the Global Parliamentary Report.
Yes.
A surgery of the
what has been happening in parliaments.
Okay.
Right.
Still on the same day after the launch, in the afternoon, there will be a meeting on sustainable development, finance and trade. That is the 2nd of April. The 3rd of April, there will be a panel discussion on tackling malnutrition in young children and the role of parliament in that. Okay? There will also be a meeting still on sustainable development, finance and trade, and democracy and human rights. Then there will be an informal discussion on disaster risk reduction and sustainable development.
Right.
Okay. And same day there will be a discussion, a panel discussion on making the law work for the response to AIDS. That is zero more infections, zero more discrimination, and zero AIDS-related death. And then get back to a meeting on peace and international security. Okay?
Yes.
Then on the 4th of April, we'll still discuss and debate parliaments and people bridging the gap. We'll go back to democracy and human rights, sustainable development, finance and trade.
All right, maybe before you conclude, I'll just hold it there. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. You can call in now. Our number is 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. Continue as we wait for the last you stopped some. Okay, Spectrum, we have a caller. Hello? Okay, when you call in, please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello?
Hello, sir, your name?
Good evening, Inspector.
Good evening to you.
I'm okay with
Charles.
Charlie. I want to run the presenter.
Yet is attached for this list. You stated some few billions. But Uganda being a country that is famous for the incident of Chogam, where 500 billion was spent for such a function. Yes, Parliament as a transparent body should come out and tell Ugandans how much this event is going to cost Uganda. That's transparency, to show that you're fighting corruption in the country. Tomorrow we're going to find that maybe the event costed 600 billion. Why can't you be transparent right from the beginning and tell the nation how much this event is going to cost? Two, you're saying that one of the items you're going to one of the intended objectives is to bring, or the theme, to bring Parliament, or to take Parliament nearer to the people. I wanted to find out how many members of Uganda will be participating in this event. Is it 5 or 10? So will this be representative of all members of Parliament, or what? Those are issues I wanted to clarify.
All right. Spectrum, hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir, your name?
My name is Peter from Inter.
Yes, Peter.
Personally, I think it would be a good opportunity to set a general standard of democracy using that meeting. Why don't they smuggle in an idea like the restoration of term limits to maybe a 2-year term across the board? Thank you.
Okay, Spectrum, hello? Okay, let's get to you, Mr. Taremwa.
Okay, thank you, our callers. How much are we spending on the conference? This conference was budgeted for by about 30 billion.
30 billion Uganda shillings.
Okay? But like any other function, you may find that you either spend less
or slightly more.
But as of now, I can confidently say that it is about 30 billion.
We're still within budget.
We are still within budget.
Go on.
Yes.
We saw some buses imported from Nairobi. Why did you import buses? We have our pioneer buses here. Why can't you use them?
No. Before you host a conference, you sign a memorandum, an MOU agreement with the IPU. And in that memorandum, there are specifics that the host parliament will have to meet. And there are finer details of each. If it is a chair like this,
the quality of
there has to be a measurement and a quality. If it is a table, it is a measurement and a quality.
Right.
And from the transport sector, we found out that actually the buses we had, they are not conforming to the requirements under the protocol we signed with.
Not even the pioneer buses.
Not even the pioneer buses. So we had to go to Kenya and rent out those buses. We didn't buy.
They are hired. They're not bought.
Hired, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, term limit.
Term limit, what do you want me to talk about?
Well, you also asked about how many Ugandans are attending.
Yeah, about 10 or so delegates.
From Uganda?
From Uganda.
Even though we're the host country?
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the members who can
come as observers.
Can come as...
Yeah. But Uganda is represented by about 10?
By about 10.
Right.
And not all the delegates I was talking about, the over 2,000, they are delegates, but also accompanying persons, advisors, secretaries. So, in that respect, Uganda is also having the same arrangement.
Right.
Yeah. Then smuggling, I don't think I have to comment anything about term limits.
Why don't you want to talk about term limits?
In respect of this IPU,
yes,
I already told you the agenda of the IPU and how an item can appear on the agenda.
You don't expect it to show up?
Okay. The item that can appear on the agenda is inclusion of an emergency item. As of now, it is Syria. Okay. And the agenda is an international agenda. It is not a localized agenda. You may have an issue of term limits in country A, but they are not. It is not an issue in country B. It is not an issue in country C. So this is an international agenda, debating and discussing issues that affect all the member states on the globe. So, if one wanted to bring this item on the agenda, it will have to come as a request for an inclusion of debate on an emergency item.
And it's not an emergency.
And it would be, the world parliaments would say, yeah, this is a challenge across the world.
Term limits.
Yes.
And at the moment, it certainly isn't. In the US, they have them. In other places, they have them. It's not an emergency. That doesn't touch many people.
I am not a member of the drafting committee. Neither am I a member of the governing council or the executive committee that comes up with the agenda. And really, I can't speak for them on which item is an emergency item and which one is not.
All right. So, what kind of resolutions can we expect from Kampala? The Kampala.
Let us wait on the 5th of April. We will have a press conference, and the resolutions will be on promoting and practicing good governance as a means of advancing peace and security. At least the resolutions will touch on that. A redistribution of power, access to health as a basic right, and then approve of the subject items for the 128th Assembly and appointment of the rapporteurs. So let's wait. When the conference ends, the country will know this 7-day sitting, what has it been up to, and what do we expect.
And when you talk about redistribution of power, you're talking about federalism.
Well,
how a country like Uganda can get federalism?
I don't want to get into that debate.
Well, you said distribution of power. How do they do it?
I am here really to apprise you on this conference.
Well, you said redistribution of power.
And what it will talk about. So I don't think I need really to go further than what I have given.
What do you mean by redistribution of power?
No, I mean how.
What do you mean by redistribution of power?
Like I said, please wait for that time when the speaker.
Well, you can expand it for us.
Wait for that time when the speaker and the secretary general. By the way, tomorrow at 1:15, the speaker of the Parliament of Uganda, the secretary general of the IPU, the president of the IPU will be having a joint opening press conference.
Yes.
If anyone has any question, those are the right people you can ask, and they give you all the answers you want.
For it is safer to stay on the periphery, to speak from a distance. Let's talk about these resolutions, whatever they are, in the end, are they normally respected?
Yeah, they are respected. We are talking of the United Nations parliaments sitting and debating and harmonizing and coming up with resolution on specifics. So really, if the Parliament of Uganda has been grappling with an issue, maybe the Canadian Parliament also has the same issue.
Yeah.
This time round, they are all going to come together and say the challenge is this, and as world parliaments, the approach is this. So, parliaments have powers to legislate, and parliaments have powers to redistribute their budgets. They are in charge of budgets. So really, we expect these resolutions to be implemented. It is not a sitting just for fun. It is a sitting for working.
And you think we're going to get value for money? People will sell their tomatoes and
very much.
We have to end here. Thank you very much, dear guest. Mr. Jotham Taremwa, Public Relations Officer of the Ugandan Parliament, also the Press Officer for the 126th IPU meeting. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond Kizito. Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next is the news in English.